So let's get cozy, let's get comfortable so we can chat. This will be a bit of a longer video. I have low-key always wanted to wear my glasses in a video, but I feel like today's video is just not the time to test that. Now that I have made sure everything is in focus, let's begin. So you've probably all read the title of this video before you sit down to chat with me. So this will be a much longer, much chattier video. And for those of you who just do not like my ramblings, this might not be the video for you. But for those of you who do, those of you who want to grab a cup of tea or coffee, or just throw in some earphones when you're at the office getting the work done, I fully appreciate you being here. If this is your first time here, welcome to the channel, welcome to the family. First of all, this is the latest I have shot a video ever. So if it starts getting a little bit dark, just bear with me. We talk about home renovation and just general life experiences as we are beginning to adult here, so definitely subscribe. We are talking about something that's a little bit difficult today, but I feel like everything has a silver lining. Everything happens for a reason. I fully believe that. So I found out as of about 2 weeks ago, I think it's actually almost exactly 2 weeks ago, like the 14th of February, that I am no longer employed as of today. So today was my last day at the office, and this is a very awkward thing to talk about. I hate exposing myself. I'm one of those people who's very, very private. I don't talk about anything personal in my real life with people that I know in my real life, but I really do like to come on this channel and be open and transparent and just completely honest and low-key bare, because the things I talk about here sometimes end up helping someone, and you reach out to me privately or publicly in the comments, and I appreciate every single one of you, and that makes it worth it to come here and just be completely exposed, basically. So definitely grab a drink, grab some wine, drink on my behalf, grab some tea, and just hang out with me as we are working through my thought process as of what is now, what is next, because this isn't what I was expecting. I was actually expecting to be moving on to bigger and better things, and then just company issues. It's not like a performance thing, just to make that very clear. It's just money and budget, and so I as of today, I'm officially unemployed for the first time in a very, very long time, and it's very weird, but I am choosing to focus on the things that I'm gaining versus the things that I'm losing. So I am mostly optimistic, mostly excited. So I'm trying to work through my thought process as honestly as I can, just in case someone is out there going through the exact same thing, because weirdly, one of my closest friends and I got this kind of news on the exact same day, and it took us a couple of days before we wanted to say it out loud. So when I called her to tell her, she's telling me, and I'm telling her I'm in the same boat, and it's just so if this video can be of some help to you, I mean, my heart goes out to you if you're in the situation, because now I hate uncertainty. I hate not knowing what's next. And I had literally in January sat down and planned out all the 12 months of this year. So that plan is out the window, and that doesn't feel great. But at the same time, I don't believe God closes a door just for fun, just for shits and giggles. He's closing this one so that bigger ones and better ones can open. So that applies to me, that applies to you. Just gotta hold on to that, I thought I'd come and chat to you about a couple of the options that I'm thinking about as a way forward, because I realized we have some very learned friends on this channel. All of you are so wise, because I get such good advice in the comments, whether it's with an appliance or an idea, or the person who told me I shouldn't put extension cables on my couch because those things tend to spontaneously explode. And every time I see my extension on my couch, I literally think about you. So thank you, even though I'm not listening to you, thank you. So I do tend to come here when I want my thoughts to be fine-tuned sometimes. So that's what this video is about. I'm just going to tell you when I got the news. So I was sent an email the day before the actual meeting when so when I got the news, the very first thing that I did, so that night I barely slept, not because I was panicking or whatever, it's because I just wanted to plan my way forward, right? Because I'm telling you, God knows everything. Nothing is a surprise to him, because last year, towards the end, the last quarter of last year, it just kept coming on my mind. What is your emergency plan? What would you do if things went sideways, right? If the unexpected happens, what next? And it bothered me so much that I actually sat down and mapped it out and thought about it, and I was like, this is an option, this is an option, this is an option, right? So now that it's actually in my face and real, unexpected, but still at least I have a foundation to start from. That's why I'm always advocating an emergency fund on this channel. Unfortunately, I'm one of those people who's do as I say and not as I do, because my thought process has been that if I put enough money into this house and like fix it up and make it perfect, then in an emergency I can just rent it out and get a tenant, right? So that is one of the plans that we'll be talking about today, and why that's not really the most viable option for me right now. Luckily, one thing that I did mention in that emergency fund video that I will link down below if you haven't watched it, is that you should keep your monthly expenses as low as humanly possible. Like, go to the bare minimum of what you can survive on and then live on that happily. So I have calculated mine, and my happy, comfortable base monthly expenses is just 15,000 shillings. So I'm not an expensive person. It's when you add other things, like Crystal wants hair, Crystal wants lipstick, Crystal got a candle that she has been looking for the longest time. Mind you, I'm fully unemployed right now, right? But I've looked for this for like the past 6 months, stalking these Bath and Body Works candle sellers, and all of them bring in new shipments and never bring in my candles. So yeah, this has been sitting in my Amazon cart for a while. And then I went to my shipping people because something else I had ordered before all of this news happened had come in. So I ended up finding this candle, and I know this will help me get through the next few months with like happiness and tranquility and like peace of mind. So I fully got it, but like, do as I say and not as I do. So yeah, bare minimum expenses are 15,000. I've even slashed that more to 12,000. So if I have 12,000 shillings every month, I am a very, very happy camper. So starting with that baseline, I could just like try to pretend everything is normal and not really talk about this on this channel, and then just go about my day, right? Like, go about my life, because you don't really see every day of my life. But at the same time, me being a work from home person is such a baseline of what this channel's content is about that things would change, and I feel like there'd be so many question marks. So I just wanted to come here and like give you a heads up as well, so when you see things changing, because the end of this video we're going to talk about the crazy thing, it's low-key ridiculous, but I'm kind of excited, the thing that I have landed on as a first next step. We'll get there, right? But right now, I do want to run through my thought process with you, because this is why I put the disclaimer at the beginning, because at the same time, I keep telling my friends, and I feel like God had to drill this into my brain, that I have first world problems. And I'm very grateful for that, right? Because I could have lost my job and like rent is due tomorrow. I could have lost my job and like school fees is due tomorrow. I could have lost my job and like someone is sick in hospital and an ongoing bill is due tomorrow. Like, I don't have anything to fall apart about, to be honest. And I am in a very privileged position, and I do acknowledge that. I'm not saying like my emergency plans applies to everyone, but at the same time, anytime, like, the fact that there are worse problems in the world does not invalidate your own feelings and your own sadness and your own like feeling uncertain, you know. So it is important to acknowledge other people's struggles while still honoring yours, right? Like, I'm not going to dismiss myself and my feelings and not allow myself to feel sad about anything, or like a little bit of loss, you know, because other people have it worse. But at the same time, I'm not going to wallow in it and like want to walk into traffic, because I genuinely had the thought, and it's like, come on, really? Like, you're in a bubble. Your world is not horrible, and we can be grateful for that. So there's always something to be grateful for. But the baseline, like the starting point from which you understand me and you know me, is now changing, and that is important to come here and tell you. So Crystal is known to the people who know me in real life, like in person, as a worrier. Unfortunately, I just overthink things and I blow things out of proportion and I make a mountain out of a molehill. So I, of course, had to immediately throw all my thoughts onto a spreadsheet, because I know if they just tumble around in my brain, they will literally consume me. Like, I'm one of those people who gets stomach aches because I'm so stressed, and I get headaches because I'm so stressed. So I sort of tried to get ahead of myself. Like, it's setting systems, not goals. So my goal is to not overthink things too much, right? But the system that will make that possible is to actually have a spreadsheet that as of now has like 12 tabs in it or something ridiculous with the plan. So I have to physically, like practically map out every single step. Like, what does next month look like? What does it next month after that look like? So that I can feel peace of mind, as I'm not trying to balance everything in my brain. I can just refer to the sheet, right? So we just visualize a spreadsheet with me, like join me on this journey, because we are going on this journey together, because again, I have talked this out with the people who know me so that I can narrow down my proper options. But these are all the thoughts that I had like right up front, right? So my emergency plan has always been you'll just sell the car and it's fine, right? But then when it actually comes down to it, I finally have my car exactly as I want it. Like everything about it is perfect. So the first tab on this Excel sheet we have is sell the car. What does that look like? That looks like I can probably get 400,000 shillings for that car. And if my monthly expenses are 12,000 shillings, that means 120 of that 400 will keep me going for a year, right? And then I still have 140 for the surgery that I was talking about, because I am still getting sterilized. I just don't know when it's going to happen now, but it's definitely as soon as I can, I will, for sure. That's another 100. Well, he said I should have a buffer, so up to 200, but we're aiming for about 120. So that's already 240 gone. That's more than half of the value of the car, right? And then I want to pay for the CFA, which is another 120, which is ridiculous. That's 360 already gone. Like, we're just looking at it from a very high level. Of course, Crystal went into the nitty-gritty and the details of this, but 360 is already gone. That leaves me with 40,000 shillings. That's kind of ridiculous. If we cut out the surgery for now, right, and then just go back to 240, that leaves me with enough money to fix up this house, because fixing up to the standard that I want it is gonna cost about 120,000 more shillings than I have already put into it. So fixing it up to that standard takes me to 360, and then the tenant comes in, they pay rent, they pay deposit. I downsize, move somewhere smaller, hopefully pay about 15,000 in rent. 20,000 is probably more likely, because now I have more stuff and I can't imagine going back with all my stuff to a one bedroom. Like, I could barely walk in that space, and I don't want to like sell everything, right? So I would be moving to somewhere that's probably 20,000. If I can get this place rented for like 30, 32 maybe, then I can live off of the difference and be very comfortable. That is option one. And honestly, when I thought, okay, sit down, what is your emergency plan last year? I was like, yeah, I'll just sell the car and it's fine, because I'll be moving closer to town. So it's fine. But then when push actually comes to shove, this car took me so quickly in January. I had to buy a new battery. I had to get all the electrical looked at. I had to buy a new tire in December. I did so many things to it. And then in December, it was announced that insurance premiums are going up. So instead of 16, now I'm paying 38,000 on insurance. Like, it's just, I actually had been very validly thinking of selling the car in January, but then I finally fixed it and everything is perfect. And I got an insurance premium that's 25,000 and still keeping me comprehensive. And it's just, I feel like I finally have everything I want in this car, and I can't sell it. I'm not okay with that. And I was thinking about it like validly. And this is why talking, like, having your community, having your one or two friends that genuinely know you and you genuinely know them, being able to advise you is so important. So I talked to my friend and she told me that, honestly, the same one who we had the same situation, and she's the one who was advising me not to sell my car, because it's rough in these streets with matatus, and I've been driving for 7 years. And again, this is why I keep coming back to first world problems, right? Because I'm just in a bubble, and I acknowledge that and I appreciate that, and I'm not trying to act like this is everyone's situation, because it's genuinely not. But yeah, the fact that I can sit here and be like waxing and waning about selling a car is, I mean, it's coming definitely from a place of privilege. So yeah, just at the same time, this is my world falling apart. So like, try to bear with me, right? There's like a balance here. Selling the car, created a tab, literally worked through what it would mean every month, because then I have to map out how many months of renovation, how many months until I need to pay for the CFA, how many months until I need to do this and do that. And it's just, it would work out and still leave me with a bit of a nest egg, because then I could cut out a few things, right? So then I can decide, because with the CFA, I only get to pay 120 if I take the early bird special, which means paying for the exam 8 months before I plan to do it. But I could postpone. Instead of aiming to take it in February, I can take it in May, I think. And that gives me a couple more months. And then the good thing is that once I have a tenant here, then I'm not like desperate. Like, I'm not looking for a job out of desperation. I'm not in such a big hurry to get a new position. Having this house rented would allow me to live essentially endlessly. But you see, again, it's a bit dangerous to think like that, because if the tenant moves out and I don't get another tenant for like months on end, then I'm not able to sustain myself. So you see, it's still a different kind of uncertainty, but it's like a more certain certainty, you know, versus just sitting in the house and like running out of money eventually. You know, I feel like, I hope I'm making sense. I hope I'm not just sounding like Paris Hilton. Oh my gosh, look at my problems. But at the same time, they are my problems and they are real problems. So yeah, that is option one, is selling the car. And I feel like that will never fully be off the table. It's always at the back of my mind. But right now, I don't think I need to go nuclear. So that is my nuclear option. And I don't think we're at a place where we need to go nuclear yet. And I'm just trusting God will open a door somehow, some way, and then you know, it'll all be fine. It'll all work out. So that is option one. So as much as I only drive the car 3 times a month, literally not even 4, because it's not every weekend that I do something or go somewhere. It's not even over the weekend. It's just like going to the supermarket. It's not like go somewhere. But yeah, even though I only drive the car 3 times a month, I'm not quite ready to let go of it yet, because I've heard horror stories of trying to find a good quality secondhand car in Nairobi, and then the idea of arguing with someone on the value of my car when it's absolutely flawless, absolutely perfect, and I can't. Like, I'm not emotionally there yet. I'm not ready. I don't think I'll ever be ready, to be frank. But nuclear option exists on the table, but not quite there. Also, it's officially nighttime, so Skylight is no longer providing us with light. I hope the lighting isn't too bad in this video, but just like bear with me, right? This is a cozy evening catch up. We're just like chatting on my couch. So option number 2, and I always knew this was an option even when I bought it, is sell my fridge, which that hurts my heart. Even to think about it, it hurts my heart. But then I always knew that if push ever did come to shove, and if something ever happened and I needed like quick cash, I can definitely sell it, because I bought it for 135 almost, and I can probably sell it for 100 pretty immediately, just because it is Samsung. It is like branded and not like an unknown brand. That's one of the things that I do instead, which is a very terrible thing. Don't take my advice, right? But like, instead of saving cash, I like buy things that I can liquidate later so that I can enjoy it as well as have cash in the future. So like, even now, one of the things that I'm selling is my exercise bike, which that also hurts my heart. I swear, selling anything hurts my heart because I don't like it. But I do acknowledge that I barely use it. I think I just like looking at it and like thinking of how fit I would be if I used it. But then I never consistently use it. So I'll start and then I'll stop, and then I'll move it to a different part of the house thinking that's a problem. Then I'll start again and I'll stop, and then I'll take it outside, and it's not working, right? So if you are in the market for an exercise machine, I don't know which side I'll put it, but it is up for sale at a very reasonable price. If you're interested, hit me up. Selling the fridge allows me to do proper renovations on the house and not just like patchwork for a tenant occupation, and then be able to also afford to move, and then like get deposit and use that to move and like finalize the house. And just, it does allow me to exercise the option to rent out the house without having to like sell the car or sell a bunch of little things. I can just sell one big thing and like sort it out, and then every other thing I need to sell is sort of incidental, because I've built a couch exactly for this space. I doubt I'll be able to rent a place that can hold a couch this big, so it's unfortunate, and I can't sell it like in pieces, so I would have to sell the whole thing, which makes me, again, it just hurts. It hurts my heart. I think that's what I'm feeling more than even like the sadness at losing the job or like losing the people, even how it happened, because how would you give someone 14 days notice? That's kind of like, I know it's in my contract, but then I always assumed courtesy would like, you know, anyway, this isn't a job where I'm bitching about anyone. We are leaving everything behind with grace. We are not nuking any bridges, which is what me as your internet big sis will definitely advise you, is as much as you want to leave giving people the middle finger, it's just not constructive for you down the road. So I feel like, again, everything happens for a reason, because I've been with this company for so long that I don't have references outside of this company. So even getting references for a different job would mean alerting my employer that I am looking for a new job. So it's just been a whole thing, but right now I'm able to connect with people like really deeply and like get really good references. So I feel like I'm excited about what the future holds. I just hate having to change my plans. I am a creature of habit. I am a creature of making a plan and sticking to it. And it's just now having to sit here and let go of my fridge, which I still absolutely love. I can't. So actually, one of the videos that was supposed to come is an updated review of that fridge, and it is still coming. But now a lot of things are changing based on what we'll talk about at the end of this video. So I am waiting on that process to begin, basically. So yeah, I have things to be excited about, but I'm also terrified. But anyway, we're brainstorming the other ideas before we get to that big idea, and then everyone tells me that's the best idea. Or if you tell me that's a horrible idea and you're gonna get murdered, then we can talk about it, you know. But so selling my fridge would facilitate comfortably being able to fix up the house. So I could sell my fridge and live here and live off the money, right? So in a perfect world, I'd be able to sell it for 120,000, and then that gives me 10 months of living here. But then it gives me 10 months of not just like living here and studying, but 10 months of like desperately, thirstily looking for a job, because at the end of those 10 months, then I have no money and basically nothing to show for it, right? So it's not an ideal situation. It's not really an option that I'm comfortable with. So yeah, I mean, selling the fridge is very much on the table. It had gotten off the table. At some point, I'd convinced myself that I don't need to sell it. I can sell everything else except the fridge. But at some point, I was even going to sell the car instead of the fridge. But then it's finding that balance, because in an actual perfect world, I feel like if I could step outside of myself and be someone else for a minute, I would just sell everything. Start completely from scratch. The only things I would take are my bed and my dresser, that giant dresser that I'm obsessed with, because I understand I will never find something like that again. But a fridge, I can always find something like that again, you know? So that giant dresser, my bed, my washing machine, and my dishwasher. Those 4 things are the only things that keep. Everything else I would liquidate if I could, just sell it as a whole. I think, and my lamps, because I absolutely love my lamps and I'm definitely not going to be able to replace those. But other than that, I would sell all of that, move to a bed sitter. But again, I'm paying like 10,000 in rent. That would be my proper nuclear option. Sell even the car, and then I have probably 700,000-800,000 in the bank, and I'm living in a bed sitter, so it's not costing much. My monthly costs also go down because it's not as much electricity, not as much, you know, just other things basically. And then I can look for a job at my own pace. I can study at my own pace. I can just like exist at my own pace, right? But then I need to take an option that doesn't feel like going too far backwards, like completely losing myself and losing who I am today and everything I've worked so hard to convince myself that I've built. I know they're all like material things, but then it feels really good when I can walk into the sitting room and have the skylight here. And I know like I can just sit in the sun and like just marinate in God's goodness, you know? And I feel like I would have given up to do that, and living a life without hope, it's not sustainable, right? So that is the reason that can't happen. But yeah, in a perfect world, that is exactly what I would do, and it's kind of what we're gonna do. Anyway, yeah. So selling my fridge and renting out this place was definitely an option that I considered, and I mapped it out again. So what would it look like? How much would each renovation cost? So I made a list of all the bare minimums that I'd need to do in order to get a tenant. So there's a couple of things that are added to that list that I wouldn't be doing if I was staying here. So like I've mentioned this before, I have a 3,000 liter tank at the back. That is enough for me as one person, but for a family, it was always problematic with the previous tenant. So I would have to move that 3,000 one to the front and then get a 5,000 one at the back, and then that's 8,000 liters plus a 500 up, and that's roughly enough. In a perfect world, I'd be building the underground tank, but then this option that I'm looking at is going to cost me 45,000 shillings versus 200,000 to build an underground tank in a house that I won't even be living in. Like, it's just not, you know, like priorities. So yeah, that is why my reno costs are going up to 120, because there's a couple of things I can't skimp on. So I'm trying to bring it down to 90, but I don't know if I can live with 90, you know? Me being the obsessive me, I immediately called someone and got quotations, because again, I have to put a shower in the master bathroom if I'm getting a tenant, because not everyone appreciates tub time, and it makes me so sad. But I do respect that when you're coming home from a long day of work, you don't want to be like clambering into a tub to like take a shower and then clambering out, right? So I would just put in a shower there. That alone is like 25,000, and then the water tank is 45,000. So all the other things are smaller, and I can probably get away with spending 95,000, but then, you know, I love my home. I don't want to leave my home. So if I can have an option that allows me to stay in my home, I would definitely take it. So yeah, these are my imperfect but still somewhat hopeful plans, right? Because at least once I get a tenant here, then I don't have to worry so much about getting a job. I can just focus the next few months on studying. But then at the end of that studying period, I can't afford to pay for the exam, because again, I've already paid 100,000 for the study prep part of this. I need another 120 for the exam part of this. So it's kind of ridiculous, and it's a little bit stressful, and this is why I get so fidgety when I'm stressed. But yeah, getting a tenant is definitely at the top of the list. But my concern with that is this road construction. I even have some footage for you, because I drove around on Saturday. Today is Monday. I drove around on Saturday, and the road is ridiculous, and it wasn't that bad on Saturday, and yet I drove around last week Thursday. It took me 30 minutes to get to Cabanas. It took me 2.5 hours to get home, and I feel like a tenant is able to use that as leverage to be able to get the prices lowered. So right now, if I rent it out, the minimum I would do would be 30,000. I kind of feel like once this road is constructed at the end of this year, these houses will be worth a lot more, because 20 minutes to Westlands, like, come on, that has to mean something. But again, again, I think it might take a little bit of time for the market to actually adjust to that. So I don't want to get a tenant now. So if I can find a plan that allows me to buy time, the better, right? So we come back to selling the car, because the car allows me to buy a lot of time while living in this house. And then at the end of this road construction period, I'm giving it I thought it was supposed to be in July. Apparently they're aiming for December. So we're giving it until next year. If I sold the car, I could pay for the exam and have enough money to live here and like slowly renovate the house, so that it's not like just taking a chunk of money and throwing it at the house. And then at the end of that period, hopefully, honestly, I'm kind of feeling like it's a waste of time, because I'm hoping to go from 30,000 in rent to 35,000 in rent, but 40 feels like kind of stretching it. So I would take 40 or 45, which would be most ideal. But I think 35 is more realistic, which is just a 5,000 shilling difference. But again, a tenant isn't someone you can like evict after 9 months, because you're like, oh, now the roads are done, rents are going up. So if I got a tenant, I'm probably going to have them for the next 5 years. And yeah, that 5,000 a month now sounds really small, but then 5,000 a month over 5 years is a lot of money, right? So it's a lot of money lost to never be recovered. So yeah, I think it's worth it to hold out until the road is done, and then we see where we are then. So that means staying in this house. Option 3, which was very strongly considered. Let me tell you, this was my immediate thought, because I thought if I just sold most things, then I can afford to keep my fridge, keep my car, and still renovate the house, and then transport myself to Wundanyi, which is where my grandparents live, which is where my grandparents, who are just the most wonderful people in the world, have built their house with a dedicated room for Crystal. And it's like a big spacious room, so I can actually like move all the stuff that I really care about in there, and then have the rest of the things in storage. And again, the only things I really care about are my fridge, my beds, both of them, because getting a super king orthopedic bed is, I feel like I'm never gonna get it at the price that I got this one, and I don't want to end up paying 100,000 shillings for a bed that I already own for 30,000 shillings that I'll probably have to resell at 30, 35 maybe, right? So it doesn't feel like I'm getting a worthwhile return by selling those things. So my dresser, my bed, the guest bed, and my fridge. Everything else is incidental. If I can sell everything else, no. Those 4 things, plus my dishwasher, plus my washing machine, because apparently the 10 kg Nexus washing machine has been out of the market since I made my video. I'm kind of low-key trying to not take credit for that, but at the same time feels like a coincidence, you know. But yeah, it's been out of the market, so even if I sold it today, there's no guarantee that I'd get it, or I'd get it at a reasonable price, because I'm seeing other machines at like 60,000-70,000, and I'm not interested in that. Problem with that plan is that once I take my washing machine and my dishwasher to my grandparents' house, and then I'm moving back to Nairobi, I'm not gonna take them with me. Like, it would feel so cruel, because I would take them there so that it can make my day-to-day life there easier, just because I'm not gonna sit around and watch my grandma like run the household alone, right? So I'm gonna step in, but then that means I am running a household of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. That's a lot of people, right? And it's like a lot of people of, oh, we're all so tired, Crystal, what are you making us for lunch? And we've all come back and we're all equally tired. And then it's not like making my single portion like I'm used to, like I've been used to for 7 years. I have to cook enough for everyone and make sure everyone is liking it and everyone is happy and everyone is excited about the next meal. And it's just, I can't do that. Like, I don't have it in me. Like, this is one of the reasons I just don't want kids, because I don't think I would find that kind of life fulfilling. There are people who are homemakers and you're like built for that, right? I am not one of those people. I am not domestic in most ways. So yeah, I genuinely did consider that, and I had a friend hear how much I was considering it, and I think she's the one who first turned me away from it, because she completely freaked out. She thought Crystal, who loves a very chill life, will go to the village and realize it's a very chill life and just never want to come back to Nairobi. Like, she thought I'd be one of those people who just like leaves and just gives up on the city and decides, you know, I want one of these smaller town lives, and she's not emotionally prepared to see me just like abandon everything. And you see, these are the kinds of friends that you need. Like, you need to surround yourself with genuine people who want the best for you, and not people who are listening to your life and your problems because they want tea, because I want something to go gossip about, you know? So because I only talk to people that I genuinely trust, whose opinions I deeply value, I heard her when she panicked. I heard you, my dear. And I listened and I started thinking, okay, so actually that was one of my first plans. Like immediately I was just thinking, you know what? Forget everything, because if I can sell a couple of things so I don't have to sell my fridge and I don't have to sell my car, and then I can transport the things that matter to me to Wundani, then I can basically live there. I wouldn't be paying rent, but I wouldn't also feel right just like leeching off of someone, because there's a difference between being frugal and being a miser, basically. So a frugal person figures out a way to cut costs as much as possible. A miser wants to pass on those costs to other people. So it's like, if I can go to lunch, I'll go to lunch every day as long as someone else is paying for it, you know? So I don't ever want that situation. Like, I don't want to ever feel like a burden to them. So I would definitely take on a couple of bills. So I'd probably pay all of the electricity and all of the internet and a couple of other things. So that came out because, again, all of this is happening in the Excel sheet, right? So that came out to about 10,000 shillings a month. Then I can save 20,000 shillings a month because I'll be renting this house out at 30 instead of 35 or 40, because the road is not done. And then I'd be able to save 20,000 a month. Now, with that plan, I still wouldn't be able to pay for the exam in August. So I have to pay for it by August 1st for the February exam. So based on my calculations and spreadsheeting everything out, I would probably have to aim to take the November 2023 exam versus a February 2022 exam. And you see, it starts to feel like my life is getting, not even like being put on hold, but being postponed, right? Because I'm taking CFE 1, and that's a 2-year gap in my employment resume. So then I should take the CFA 2 so that I come from a stronger position as I'm applying for more jobs. And then again, if I'm there and I get a job and then I have to move all the way back, and obviously me being me and being a little obsessive, I called the moving company that I used to move my things here to get a price out for moving to Wundani, and it's 50,000 shillings. So I could pay 50,000 shillings today to move there, and then in 2 months, because God opens the door and I get a really good job that I'm not turning down, in 2 months I'm paying another 50 to come back to Nairobi. Like, it just feels like so much uncertainty. I feel like that's the theme of this video. It's just the uncertainty of it all that can drive you mad. So yeah, I think I did talk to my grandparents eventually, and they really just touched my heart. They told me I have nothing to worry about because I am theirs. I was just like, oh my gosh. So yeah, the plan when we talked was that I would go there for like a month or two and just chill. Like, literally go there, do nothing, just apply for jobs and focus on studying. And then at the end of those 2 months, we'll see what feels right. So if it means me moving there, if it means me renovating and moving to a smaller place, whatever feels right, we'll figure it out in 2 months, because I am theirs and I just felt so loved. So that is an option that's on the table. And again, that's a very big privilege, right? Because it's not everyone that has family that they can turn to. They are my family and I really just appreciate them. Yeah, so that was a very valid option for a hot minute. It's just like, move there, have 20,000 a month indefinitely. Once I stack up enough cash, then I can come back to Nairobi. But then it's like, if I'm moving there, I'm definitely never driving anywhere, because I'm not one of those people who like road trip it to Mombasa or whatever, because road tripping it to the CBD is like, it takes a lot of convincing for me to leave the house. At some point, I genuinely worried I was developing agoraphobia, like for real, because I don't like leaving the house and interacting with people. And that's why I was so comfortable at my previous job, because I would just work from the house, and the idea of going to an office every day, just, you can walk into traffic with such thoughts, like, honestly. So I just, you know, but yeah, if I'm going to move there and I'm not driving anywhere, is there any real value in moving with a car? Especially because if I'm going to move there with my dishwasher and my washing machine, then it reduces the amount of housework that I'm doing. So then I'm comfortable enough to actually focus on studying and really dedicate myself to it. And then I can do CFA 1 and CFA 2. But then if I'm doing CFA 1 in November 2023, then I do CFA 2. I don't think I'd be comfortable doing it in August. I think it's twice a year. I think it's August and like late 2024. So that means 2025 is when we're thinking about coming back to Nairobi. And that, by the time I came back, I feel like it would be the same issue as moving to a bed sitter, is that I would just not have a grip on who I am. Like who I am today, I haven't peaked. I'm not like the best version of me that I'm gonna be, but I'm finally like happy. Like I'm in a stable zen place. I'm no longer in the depths of depression and like just feeling like the world has no meaning. And I feel like I would slip back into that so completely if I just gave everything up that I have, like setting systems, not goals, right? I have systematically set my life up to where I wake up and I am grateful and I can focus on the good things and I can be in sunshine all day long. And yes, if I moved to Wundani, I would have sunshine, and that is the biggest appeal, is that just the outside in the compound. And the last time I was there, I was so happy just spending all of my time outside in the sun. But yeah, that constant people needing something from everyone, needing things and everyone having questions and everyone, it's just, I need the quiet. And I feel like at some point it would be a bit rude if I just kept disappearing to my room. It's about finding the balance. But yeah, I don't think that is an option that could work for me realistically, you know. And that's again what my friend was afraid. Remember how I told you this was a long chatty video, so I'm not even stopping myself from going on all my tangents. So that is what my friend was afraid of, is that I will sell everything and then even moving back to Nairobi would be so intimidating. And I don't want to prove her right. Like I don't think she's right, but at the same time maybe she's seeing something about me that I'm not seeing clearly. So I feel like it's worth it to take a chance and just stay here and then slowly get myself to be willing to like part with multiple more things. And then maybe if I really need to downsize, like if I'm here for like 8 months, 10 months and I still haven't gotten a job, then maybe I can consider moving there. But I don't know. I don't know. Wundani on the table. Everything is still on the table. But I fully believe that like nothing takes God by surprise, right? So even in December when he allowed me to pay for the study course before paying for the CFA, that money was actually supposed to go towards my emergency fund. Like it was like the Christmas bonus and everything. So I was counting on to just like throw it aside and forget about it and everything. And then I just felt it in me, like God just spoke to me, like it's time, because I've been talking about getting a CFA for like 4 years, and it's just time, finally, you know. And I'm finally in a place where I feel like ready emotionally, mentally. Ooh, and my books came. Oh my gosh, can I show you? These, can't even see them properly. These are my study texts for CFA level 1. So I can't look at this with any sort of regret, just because I feel like God had a reason why he made me pay for it before I found out about this, because obviously everything would have gone into lockdown. But I feel like all of the options that I've stated so far, except for selling the car and paying for the exam, would kind of mean giving up on my private equity dreams, and I'm just not ready yet. I'm not there. If any of you are interested in that side of life, Wiley is very good so far, let's say. I'll give you a review on it at the end of my study period. But yeah, if I try to pay for the February exam too close to the date, then I'm paying an extra 40,000-50,000 for the exam, and just it doesn't make sense. So it only makes sense if I pay for it early, and finding a balance there is what I am looking for. Obviously, I could come back here tomorrow and be like, amazing news, I found a work from home job that's paying me enough to where nothing has to change. That would be so great. And I have had a couple of meetings. So last week, Thursday, that meeting at Cabanas was really good. Like, I'm really optimistic about it and I'm very excited about it. And I can't wait to tell you about it once contracts are signed and everything. And I do feel like God closes a door to open better ones. So this would be a significantly better door for me. And then like barely anything has to change, you know? So yeah, that would be amazing. I have a couple of other things in the works. I have one thing I applied for that I'm really, really, really hoping to get, because that would be absolutely perfect and just sort everything out, right? But I have to live in a place of a worst case scenario so that I already understand what rock bottom looks like, and then everything else is just a perk. Everything else is just something to be grateful for, versus looking at it as this isn't matching up to my expectations, this isn't what I wanted, etc., etc. Just trying to maintain an attitude of gratitude for me means I have to start at rock bottom, and then everything else is just, you know, it's up and up from here. Here's my current worst case scenario, right? I sell my bike for about 25,000. I sell my couch for hopefully 40,000. Maybe I'm being optimistic, I don't know. Sell a couple of other things, get myself up to about 80,000, and then I can use that money to renovate the house. And then when the tenant pays deposit and rent, then I can use that to pay deposit and rent in my next place. And then once I move there, I can now balance it out. So then I'm thinking I want to move to a 2-bedroom house. I understand that I'm not in a place to be picky about things. I get that. But at the same time, I don't want to pay to move now and then pay to move a second time, right? So I'd rather be somewhere that I'm comfortable, that I don't feel like I'm too squished and too cramped and compressed to actually like be able to get this. Because this studying is a lot, right? Like it's so many formulas. The formula sheet is like this big and like printed on both pages, and that's just formulas. So I do need an environment where I can actually like study and feel safe and not to worry, because I've been seeing so many stories on Facebook about people waking up and finding their cars are no longer in the parking, and I can't. I don't know how people do that. I don't know how you can feel safe sleeping without like waking up every 5 minutes to look at your car. This house has spoiled me, to be honest, which is why, again, first world problems. I'm not trying to sound like a spoiled brat. I'm sorry if that is how it's coming off, but yeah, I'm working through my thought process, right? And I know it's been a lot so far, so I would love your opinion. I would love to hear what you think the right choice is, because now we're moving into what's actually happening in the immediate future. And before I like cloud your judgment with any of that talk, I would love you to just like take a second and pause and reflect and tell me, what would you advise me to do? Like, as my, like, I'm usually your internet big sis, but like you can be my internet big sis and just tell me, Crystal, this is what is logical. You're not seeing it because you're too close to it, you're too invested in it, but this, please don't tell me sell my car. But I feel like that's the best option. But at the same time, sell my car, move to Wundanyi, stack up cash, come back when I'm ready. That is my, I don't want to say worst case, because I would genuinely enjoy living with them, but I don't have a social battery big enough to stay there for very long. So usually I go for like 2 or 3 weeks. I feel like beyond that, because it's built into that plan, right? If I was to move to Wundanyi, part of the plan is go there for 6 weeks, and I'm not allowed to like cop out and take a train and come back. So go there for 6 weeks, come back and begin the renovation process. And then at some point again, I go for another 6 weeks and see if I can not just be there and like survive the 6 weeks, but like thrive in those 6 weeks. If I can do it full-time living with them, because again, another thing is that like my grandparents are pastors, right? So people just show up at their house, and no one shows up at my house. If you don't have my number, you will knock and you will see lights in the house, and I will not come, because if you don't have my number, why are you knocking on my gate? It just, so it's little things like that just throw me completely off, and I don't know. So if you can see an answer, because I have none of the answers yet, if you can see an answer here in all of this, please let me know. Because right now we're talking about an option that I was initially into, and then I talked myself completely out of it. And the way I have swung back into this option after talking to my friend. So I have a friend who's been doing Airbnb for years, like 2-3 years he's been talking to me about this, and every single time he'd say it, I'm just like, I can't have people in my space. I can't just have strangers in my house. That's why I mentioned earlier, like I have a very valid fear of people and just bad intentions, and I don't want to get murdered in my own home because some strange person was in here. It's just, and that's the thing, it's not even like I can choose to only accept women guests, but women can also be crazy. I've been spending too much time on the true crime side of YouTube, and just seeing how completely empty, just psychotic some women are is terrifying. So yeah, I think I've said it, this section of the video. Now we are talking about Airbnb, and how my friend actually convinced me that this is not just a viable option, but it's an option I'd be stupid to not even consider. And I think that's part of why I'm feeling this itch to rent the space, even though I don't think I'll get long-term optimal rents, because I don't use a good 50% of this house. Genuinely, this front yard, I'm terrified of going there because of the insects. So until I put down the fake grass and fumigate it, I spend no time there. Guest room, I spend no time there. I just go in to pick 1 or 2 items of clothing and then come out. I don't go into the third room because it's terrifying to me, because I need to arrange it, but I'm just not emotionally ready yet. And the backyard is where I use a lot. So I use the living room, kitchen every day. Backyard, I do sun myself there, and then my bedroom. And that's it. I don't even use guest bathroom, like nothing in that general vicinity. So I barely use even half the house, and genuinely that's not a good thing. That's kind of where I'm feeling like it's just too much space that I can't justify if I'm not bringing in an income. That's why I'm leaning more towards just renting it out, being able to like make enough to break even, at least put a little bit in savings if I can get 35 today because of all the improvements that I've made so far, and then, figure it out. Then from there I can job hunt. From there I can later on sell the fridge, because then I can use the fridge to pay for the exam while I'm breaking even with the tenant in this house, because then I have some degree of certainty, right? So the option that actually does give me what I want, which is bringing in a rental income from this home, but still allowing me to keep all of my stuff, because my perfect world scenario would be to be able to rent out this house furnished. I just take my bed and go, and so that all my stuff is still like my stuff. I don't have to actively be using it, but I'm still generating an income. Then I can move into a studio. That's the Jenga tower that kind of creates the situation I want. So yeah, Airbnb is now a viable thing. It's so viable, actually. I literally had a 6-hour conversation with this person, because I was so resistant to this idea at the beginning, and then at the end of it, he fully had me on board, because there's so many different opportunities to make money on an Airbnb like listing. And then if you don't want to do it anymore, you just stop. Like, it doesn't really change anything. Like, it's not a long-term commitment. It's not like a tenant that at the end of this road construction I'm still stuck with, right? So I'm doing Airbnb, and that is the big change that I'm saying is coming to this channel. So I am actually going to do a whole series on getting my home Airbnb ready, which I think will be a lot of fun, because it incorporates the renovations that I need to do, because I've wanted to paint that guest bedroom for so long, but because I don't use it, it's so low on my priority list, it's not even funny. But I'm so glad I fixed the guest room shower, but then at the same time I fixed it to where I am happy using it, not to where I'm happy renting it out to someone in that state, or even getting an Airbnb person, listed tenant. What do you call them? An Airbnb guest? Guest is, I think, the right word for them. With the shower, with the wall and the shower and the whole situation in that state. So yeah, I do have a bit of work that I need to put into this house to make it listable. Well, not really listable, because I actually set up my listing. So his advice was just set up your profile right now, even as you're working on the house, so that I don't end up like dilly-dallying about it, right? So I have set up my profile as of yesterday, which is very exciting. I have technically listed the house, but then I am going to but then I've blocked off the next 7 days, because I'm giving myself 7 days to get this house Airbnb ready, and then I'm available to take in guests. So yeah, I did not like the idea of like roommates, or roommates are more permanent, and I think that's what I didn't enjoy, is that someone gets comfortable and then suddenly their boyfriend is here every day, and then I don't think I'd be happy with that. But then with a guest, there are rules and regulations, and there's a fixed tenancy. So it's not like you're here indefinitely, you're here for X number of days, and then I can block off a couple of days in between when I just want to be alone in my house, and I'm happy. And it gives me this little bed sitter studio fantasy that I'm having, because then I will leave the whole house to the guest and only come out when I need to cook, and basically live in my bedroom. And my bedroom is big enough for me to like create a little sitting area for myself, so I'll be comfortable there. I have my little TV in there. I barely watch TV anyway, and now hopefully the Airbnb will give me enough revenue to where, you see that little spread that I needed from the tenancy, from the rent that I'm getting and the rent that I'm paying, so that I can like happily support myself on that difference. Hopefully I can make at least 12,000 shillings a month on Airbnb. 15,000 shillings would be ideal, then I can go up to my comfortable budget. 50,000 shillings would be amazing, because then I can throw money in savings and to even more renovations to the house. But yeah, I think having some income being generated from this app is definitely something I am now open to. Initially, I was thinking like, in the beginning, before I talked to him, I was thinking like, even if I got someone to rent a room in this house, I wouldn't want to be in the house with them. So like I'd go sleep in my car. But then like, I don't want to sleep in my car. Like that's not a more hope-filling plan. Like that plan doesn't give me much more hope than selling everything and forgetting who I am for a couple of years. Like it's not ideal, but yeah, he saw things clearly versus me, who's seeing things from a place of complete and abject fear of just complete strangers. And yeah, he made me realize it's okay. Like it's not like, yes, our rooms are right across from each other, but we don't actually have to interact, because I'm not giving up my master bedroom. So I have my bathroom ensuite in there, and I can just be like comfortably existing, and then they can have free reign of the entire home, and then we'll share the outside spaces. And yeah, I think Airbnb is happening, and I am optimistic. I don't want to say excited because I am like wafting from super terrified to super excited to super terrified. I'm not finding that middle ground yet, but I feel like we will get there. We're approaching some sort of balance, and yeah, I'm feeling optimistic. Let's say cautiously optimistic, let's say that. So yeah, I will do a whole video about like setting up my Airbnb listing, and then obviously there'll be the videos on getting the place ready. So again, like I've done my guest cabinet and I was ready to post that video, and then I realized I can't leave all of my stuff in that guest cabinet, so I'm gonna have to like stock it with amenities for Airbnb guests. And I feel like I don't want to post guest cabinet video today and then updated guest cabinet video 2 days later. That was supposed to be Friday's video, but then I thought this conversation should come up first before I'm just suddenly putting so many weird things in my guest cabinet and you're wondering what's happening and we haven't had like a conversation about it, you know? So yeah, that, and also my fridge, like I want to do an updated fridge review. But if having an Airbnb guest means that I don't have to even consider selling my fridge, I can just like make money off of the platform enough to pay for everything that I need, then I'm more than happy to include in my review clearing out my fridge, cleaning it obviously from top to bottom, because this whole house needs to be cleaned literally from ceiling to the floor because we want those 5-star reviews, right? But creating space for my Airbnb guests, and also how to host when it's a private room versus giving them the whole house, because I would not be comfortable having a stranger just have full run of my home while I'm away in Wundanyi, because that would also be an option. But then like I'm not there yet. I am just not there yet. So yeah, I don't want to get too much into the Airbnb stuff because I'm excited, but I'm also very new to it. So if you do have any tips in that direction, like if you've had any experience, I would be so grateful to hear about it. But at the same time, like I'm not going to ask you for like your industry secrets, right? Because you've earned those secrets. So as I earn mine, I'm going to be coming here and sharing them, because I mean, it's a viable option. So a wild thought that struck me today is that I could rent this house out for 30,000, then go rent a house on Gong Road that's 2 bedrooms for 30,000, and probably make more money Airbnb-ing the second bedroom that way. Then I have the guaranteed buffer to fall back on from this house. But at the same time, that's adding a layer of risk to my life that I'm just not comfortable with, you know? So I feel like Airbnb a 2-bedroom that costs 18,000 would probably bring in a lot less income than a house that costs 30,000. But at the same time, I really like this community. I have stealthily been looking into it, and I don't think anyone has ever mentioned anything about Airbnbs, whether allowed or disallowed. So I'm not even going to ask someone directly because I'm not looking to be told I can't do that. It's not even an option, right? Because it's a gated community, but it's also a gated home. So you don't actually know what's happening inside anyone's compound, and let's just keep it that way, you know? So I am very excited to actually have a listing. It is live I've used like my very old but very relevant pictures of the spaces when they were decluttered and like clean and perfect. So yeah, I'm just working on getting them back up to that level. Also buying 20 liters of white paint because we are painting a ton. Oh my gosh, I also bought like a spray gun. I bought a spray gun because I knew that there would be a lot of painting in my future one way or another, and I knew that I've tried the hand painting thing and your hands ache till you think they're gonna fall off, honestly. So yeah, I just put in a bit of water to test it, and it's working perfectly. I knew that even if I did the Wundanyi option, right, I would be renovating that room, so at least we'd have some content, and also so that I can find a way to be comfortable as I am completely away from like my normal regular life, right? So that's a lot of painting in itself. If I ended up selling the fridge and getting a tenant, not only would I need to finish painting this house, but then I'd also be painting my next house, because I still needed to be a space that I'd be happy and comfortable in and like thriving and everything. So that's just a lot of painting in my future. So now that I'm painting for Airbnb, I am more than happy that I got this spray gun. I hope it works as perfectly as I'm anticipating that it will. So I am going to let you know. That's one of the reviews that's coming. But I am excited. I'm hoping I can do like Airbnb ready 7 videos in 7 days, but we'll see what the editing on that will be like. We'll see if I can do the project that I'm supposed to do in order to get the contract signed from last week. Like, it's just finding a balance with everything, but I think I should be ready because my listing will be open as of next week Monday, because on Sunday this Airbnb friend of mine is coming to like judge my work and see how far I've gone and like give me tips on how to make it better. And also he rents out his second room, right? So he is doing a private private room listing, not like a whole apartment listing. So I feel like his insight will be really good, because like, how do we split food in the kitchen? Like, an Airbnb person is supposed to bring their own food, but like, you're not going to be hungry and I just watch you being hungry as I'm making dinner. So it's finding a balance with that. But yeah, the whole thing is a journey. I've learned that you can actually list the living room as a private space, because I plan to spend no time here. So I'm definitely going to be updating my listing with that. But you see, those little details are what I'm learning, and I'm happy to share with you, because maybe you also have a guest room that you can rent out and, you know, make a little bit of money, make a little extra income. So this is where I am. I'm hoping to be able to do Airbnb and like buy enough time for the road to be ready, because again, my thought was that I can sell the car and stay here and buy enough time for the road to be ready. But then once it's 20 minutes to Westlands and I'm still looking for a job, right? So if I get a job in Westlands, then I can't take advantage of the 20 minutes to Westlands thing. Like, I'm still stuck having to move or suffering or commuting, because I found a beautiful house that's like affordable in the general Kitusuru area. So it's like a 2-bedroom for 20,000, I believe it was. But then if you look at how you commute from there, Matatu has to go to town and then you have to come from town to Westlands every morning, versus a 15-20 minute drive from the house to the office that I'm looking at. I have a very specific office I'm very interested in being in. But yeah, it's just like, it's adding layers of complexity to my life. And that friend of mine who's in the same boat as me, she's like, she is the one who actually talked me into putting the fridge back on the table, because initially I was like, I'll sell everything else and keep the fridge, right? But then she's like, the position we're in right now, we're eating shit one way or another. So choose your flavor, choose your consistency, choose your viscosity, choose your, you know, it's just, yeah. So I feel like that's not what I want, like that whole commuting and like calculations, and then I'll be so tired from A, going to an office, like commuting with a matatu to an office, B, going in person and having to deal with people in person and trying to prove yourself at the job, and like, you know, not just to get through the probation period, but to like actually excel at the job. And then C, come home and study the CFA, which is a really historically tough exam that 70% of people fail. Like, I feel like that option would just be me giving up on my private equity dreams, and I don't want to do that. I want that. So because I know that I want that, the idea of selling the car and renovating and getting a job and having all of that extra income just go into savings isn't enough to move the needle in that direction. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, as much as the Airbnb is a really good viable option, I'm hoping it works out. If it doesn't work out, then we have to revisit the earlier options, which is why I'm very interested in hearing what your thoughts were before we talked about Airbnb, right? Because it could just work out and I end up Airbnb for the next 3 years as I'm studying and trying to get like some part-time work so that I can get some experience in the accounting side of life, and it's a whole thing. That is where we are, and I am grateful to be in this position, because again, I feel like a weight has been taken off my shoulders. I feel like I get a fresh start, and that is always exciting. So I'm very optimistic about what the future holds, but at the same time, it would be nice to have a plan. It would be nice to have a sneak peek at like where we end up, because I know in 5 years we'll be looking back at this and like laughing, but at the same time, like, how do we get there? What is that journey, you know? And it's just, I feel like that's the perspective that kept me going year to year, because I would say like my levels of mental health are right now, I'd say I'm like at a 60%, which is really good. Like that's like a historical high for me, because my mental health has always been like the 15%. So the thing that got me through year to year is understanding that where I am today is already so much better than where I was a year ago, and I can genuinely and honestly say that, right? So, and even where I was a year ago is so much better than the year before. So I can be optimistic that where I will be a year from now will be 10 million times better than where I am today, and that helps you keep going and keep climbing the scale of that mental health happiness thing. Because again, I'm not a spokesperson for depression. Like, I'm not the right person to talk about it, so I'm not really going to get into that. But at the same time, there's hope. Like there's a reason to keep going, you know? Anyway, I feel like I have talked enough. I warned you this would be a very long video, but now we're finally at the end of it. So let me know your thoughts down below. I'm very interested to hear how you are perceiving what I'm thinking of. If there are other options that I'm not thinking of, please do let me know. But yeah, I would appreciate any sort of input, any sort of life hacks, any ideas that you have on how to get through this period in my life. That would be really, really great. But right now I want to do 7 days of prepping this house for listing, exhausting, so I'm not even like getting to relax yet. And then hopefully after that we'll have settled into some sort of routine with at least like regular guests or like regular bookings or something, to where at least breaking even to where the monthly costs are being covered, and then, you know, then we can figure out next steps from there, you know. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end the video here finally. I'm so sorry this has been so long. I hope this chatting and me basically taking you through my thought process is at least interesting, if for nothing else, for entertainment purposes, right? Because you can see how the mind of like a mildly crazy person works, because I have to think of every single option and pros and cons it and price every decision out and then see what that leaves me with and whether it's sustainable, doable, if it's a level of uncertainty I can live with. It's a whole thing. So yeah, thank you for watching. I really appreciate you being here. Be here more often, because I was already planning to post 2 videos a week. Now I definitely want to, because if I can make YouTube a regular source of income as well, that would be really great, because right now it's very, very sporadic and very minimal. Thumbs up if you are as optimistic for the future as I am. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking. I think I've been talking too much. I feel low-key delirious, but yeah, thank you for watching. I will see you in my next video.